Hello everybody and welcome back to the GDQ Hotfix. This is How to Train a Speedrunner, and we have Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze tonight. Before we get into that, just a few quick notes. So Summer Games Done Quick has wrapped up, but you can go check out the playlist over on gamesdonequick.com, or sorry, on the Games Done Quick YouTube channel, which you can find from there. But and also from now until July 15th, GDQ's revenue from subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and Bitch Cheered after taxes will be donated to Doctors Without Borders by Games Done Quick. With all that being said, we can jump right into it. We've got Spike here for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. How you doing, Spike?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have the game on.
Yeah, very excited. It was one of those where, like, obviously we're in a flurry, like SGDQ's coming up, a lot of the stream plans and everything. And you kind of asked me a little while ago, like, hey, would you like to be on my show to How to Train a Speedrunner, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze? And the episode I had seen of this before was TGH. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I love doing tutorials. I love teaching people how to speedrun. I think this is such a cool little hobby to get into. And I realized for the Switch original mode, which I just ran for SGDQ, had a lot of fun doing it, there's not really a proper tutorial out there. So your show is actually giving me a really good opportunity to say, let's get it out there. Got 4,000 people watching. Let's jump in, have a good time. I'll teach y'all how to play Donkey Kong really fast. We're going to keep rolling. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to have the game on the show. I think it's a fun game. And I think you're a great teacher, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. With that, I didn't know if you had anything else we need to do for the intro, or if we just need to dive right into this sucker.
We're ready to go whenever you are. I will keep an eye on chat. I'll ask any questions that come up, and I'll ask any questions that I think of.
Sounds good. All right. So then, yes, everyone, I'm SpikeVegeta, and this is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, originally released for the Wii U back in 2014. I will be playing the Switch version tonight. So obviously, this is, for a lot of people, this is just, we're vibing, we're watching some Donkey Kong. I'm going to run through the entire game and kind of break down different segments of levels and everything. I actually have a ton of different clips on my Switch version here that we can kind of break down different visual cues and everything. It'll be really, really fun. But also for all of you out here, there might be some of you that say, I actually want to learn this. So we're going to break down kind of the tools of the trade first off about how you move your characters in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump into here. We got a level with a nice, just kind of open little section at the beginning because they're on the original mode, which is a part of the Switch version, which is basically the Wii U version on the Switch version, just with much, much faster loads. So if you got the Switch version, I would definitely recommend running that. You're gonna save about 9 minutes and any percent on loads alone on like an 85-minute speed run. So that's a large percentage of just you're not watching the loading screen go by. So here we are, we got just solo Donkey Kong. He can't do a lot. Effectively, he is your base character, and then the other three Kongs that you're seeing in the barrel right here, Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong that it keeps cycling through, they're your power-ups. And as you go through the game, there'll be different barrels with each of them in it. Most of your barrels are going to have these rotating versions of it, where whenever I break it open, that will give me that Kong. But there will also be a number of times where it'll just be a Diddy barrel, or just be a Dixie barrel, or just be a Cranky barrel. So, with that being said, let's kind of just teach you the movement. The movement in this game is not like super, super complex. I would definitely say Donkey Kong, in general, feels a little heavier than other characters, like maybe you're playing like a new Super Mario Brothers game, a Rayman game, any of these sorts of platformers, an Ori in the Blind Forest. Generally, obviously, you got your basic, you can walk, you can jump. We don't want to be doing this hardly ever. You pretty much always want to be rolling. So rolling obviously only sends you forward for a while, for just a little bit with solo Donkey Kong. So a general way to maintain all that momentum is rolling and jumping out of it. And you kind of just chain these together and keep going. Roll, jump, roll, jump, roll, jump. And that can kind of maintain that momentum as you go. From there, it's your basic, you got different amounts of sensitivity that you can, aim that for. And mid-air, a lot of people say because you're so heavy, it feels like you don't have much mid-air control. I think that's a little underrated. I think you actually do a fair amount of mid-air control if you want to pull back at all, if you need to stop yourself on a platform and get wherever you need to go. obviously, for the most part, we want to hold right and just keep going forward. Now, to show off each of the 3 different Kongs, so let's start off with Diddy Kong right here. Any of the Kongs that you pick up, if you have an extra Kong on your back, all of a sudden you have an infinite roll. This is no trick or anything. You're just going that same direction. You keep tapping Y. You don't have to time it or anything. You now have an infinite roll that you can still jump out of based on what you got to do, which makes it a lot easier to kind of set up spacing for different things you have to do for where you want to go. And the vast majority of this run, you're gonna want to have that Kong on your back. But obviously when you're starting out, you're gonna be losing Kongs all over the place. So still having a good feel of just rolling and jumping with Donkey Kong, based Donkey Kong, is good to have. From there, Diddy's only special power, they all will have something special above ground and underwater. So above ground for Diddy, he's got a little jetpack. He's the only character from Donkey Kong Country Returns. So it gives you a little hover in the air. So if you need to kind of extend, right there you can see you can make gaps and whatnot. If you need to extend how long you're in the air for, this will kill a lot of your momentum, but as soon as you hit the ground, you can pick it right back up. Diddy's is the least interesting. They brought the other Kongs into Tropical Freeze coming from DKC Returns, so they're a little more interesting above ground. So now let's pick up Dixie Kong. She also trumps Diddy in pretty much every way above ground, outside of water, because she also has a hover, and hers even has a lift to it. So if you have to reach a higher up platform, she can do that for you that Diddy can't otherwise. In terms of like how far you can go with her hover, it is about the same as Diddy's, so they're equal in that regard. There's a little bit of nuance to understanding how to utilize Dixie's hover to not waste too much time floating up in the air. So like right here, I want to make sure this penguin's obviously in the way, but like if I wanted to roll and like, let's say I only could barely make this platform, I don't want to have this long like hover and then land on it. I want to throw in just like a little baby hover. So let me see if I can like, to just land on the front of it and keep going.
Yeah.
So like, and then you can keep going, as opposed to this long wind up right here. Now that being said, that's Diddy, that's Dixie. When you really get into speedrunning this game, it's all about Scrooge McDuck. It's about Cranky Kong right here. He is the one that is going to be doing the most damage, and that is because he's got this cane that maintains all momentum off of anything you are trying to do. It can bounce off of pretty much anything that is not a bottomless pit. Like we can actually showcase it right here. You've got this, you got spikes right here. He can just bounce off of it. You lose no speed for any time you use the cane bounce. And just like Dixie, he can actually gain more height off of that and gain and just be able to reach up at higher platforms, sections of levels that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. From there, because Cranky is the one you're going to be using the most, you have to understand that obviously just like there's jump sensitivity if you like bounce off of enemies or platforms or anything, his cane bounces also have varying amounts of how sensitive they can be. So throughout the run, I will kind of denote different bounces and everything based on, sometimes I want to do a neutral bop off of an enemy. Let me actually come over here. So like I maybe want to, I can't set up the spacing. Oh, that poor thing's gonna die. Here, let me, I picked a level to load into that only has one enemy and he's in a weird spot. Here, let's actually switch over to him. So you might do like a little neutral bop right there, and that's sometimes you want a lower trajectory. And then I'm going to generally describe the cane bounces in 3 different heights. There's gonna be minimum bouncing, max bounce, and then there's medium. Now medium obviously can mean a range of things. That just means, to show you a minimum bounce, you're really just tapping the button as you're hitting the ground. You still want that low trajectory, maybe you're jumping off spikes, but you want something more than just like a neutral bop off of an enemy, where you don't press the button at all, and it just sends you forward. You've got a maximum bounce, where a lot of times I'll just hold the cane out, and you gain a lot more height off of it, depending on like what the platforming spacing is. And then there's just medium stuff, where just that's going to be somewhere in the middle. It's not like a scientific, like it's exactly medium every single time. What I'm just saying to you all at learning at home is it's not a tap bounce. It's not a hold the button and go all the way. It's something in the middle. And if you get into running this game, you kind of just learn landmarks that, okay, I want to land like at maybe this tree in the background. So I want to aim for that and wherever that sends me. So from there, a lot of stuff you got to learn from it. Now that's above ground. I know y'all, we want to jump into the levels and start going over the level design and going over what makes this game so cool. But first, I also want to jump over to World 4. It has a lot of water levels in it because each of the Kongs also have special different abilities underwater compared to what they have above ground. Let me go over to 4-1 right here. And let me actually, go and I'm gonna use an inventory here so I can put in all 3 of the different Kongs and have them queued up to go as soon as I lose another Kong so I can just jump back and forth between them. So while I said Cranky is gonna be the king above ground, Diddy is actually the king underwater. This is where Diddy really gets to shine. So again, each of them have different powers. There he is, jumping off of that spiked enemy right there. Cranky's only real special ability is, you see, he can swing his cane underwater. So it gives you a little bit of an attack right there. It's, other than one very specific spot, it's not terribly impressive. It will allow you to knock out like spiked enemies like urchins underwater. But yeah, other than that, you're not gonna be using Cranky a ton underwater. So let's actually get hit right here. Let's lose Cranky. And let's get out of the water. So this is where Diddy is king. He's got this jetpack, and we like to go fast in the speedrunning community. This is just repeatedly, you press A, hold it. It's generally better to like hold it all the way through the jetpack. Just press A and hold, press A and hold, press A and hold. If you bonk out of it, it takes a second to kind of recover. And you're going to be utilizing that all over underwater levels. And you can see you can kind of change directions because sometimes, oh, I ran out of water. Because sometimes there you're going to be, let me actually go down and get Diddy. Because there's also a barrel down here. Where you don't always want to be doing full jetpacks underwater. Because sometimes I want to switch directions really quickly. Diddy, in a lot of ways, makes the underwater movement in this game feel really, really smooth. So I'm going along. Maybe I want to switch to going down real quick. You can just tap that button down. Tap, switch to right. Switch to right. Switch down right. Keep going. So yeah, Diddy is definitely a lot of fun. So let me now go back. Let's actually... Yeah, I can probably just take a death here on these urchins. Because the last one we have to show off is Dixie Kong. She has one very unique skill underwater where we're going to have to utilize her for one section in particular. In this level, actually, whenever we get here. Let me go over and get her. I didn't plan this out completely properly. That's fine. I was this afternoon getting set up to do this. I felt like a professor or a teacher trying to like get all my slides ready and everything for like a good lesson plan today. So yeah, switch over to Dixie. So to note any of the Kongs, including Diddy, if you just tap Y instead of B or A, you do this corkscrew. If you are not Diddy, this is generally your fastest way of moving underwater. So if you are in sections like that, you just want to tap Y, you're just going to corkscrew. Same as it'd be over, above ground. Her unique power is that she has this right here. If you hold A, she has this little hair twirl, and her magical blonde hair will allow you to go against currents underwater, which we'll be using specifically to get into like secret exits generally, which we'll go over once we get to this level much later in the night. With that, the only other thing I have to show underwater, let's go ahead and lose Dixie. Let's say you're solo Donkey Kong, which will actually be at the very start of this run. So he has a breaststroke, and he also has the corkscrew himself. But just like when you're above ground, Donkey Kong can't do the infinite roll. He also can't do the infinite corkscrew right here. So what you actually do is you can actually have them alternate between each other. So I'm actually like rocking my thumb back and forth from B to Y right there. You can also do A to B, or A to X rather. And that kind of refunds each of them instantly, so he can just keep moving to where he's really not any slower than having Dixie, having Cranky on your back. The only thing he's slower than is, once again, not having Solo, or not having Diddy Kong on your back to have that jetpack. And Diddy in some of these, like, you know, minute and a half, 2 minute long levels, Diddy can save like 30 seconds, just to give an idea of how much faster Diddy is. The last thing I'm gonna go over in terms of like basic mechanics, how this game works. You've seen rotating barrels above water and underground. Above water, they're on 1 second cycles. So for 1 second, it'll show Diddy, 1 second, it'll show Dixie, 1 second, it'll show Cranky, and then it'll rotate back to that side. It will always be in that order. So, because of knowing that, all barrels in this game are on global cycles. So from the time you enter the level, they're rotating like that. So there will be many times throughout this run I'm gonna say, we're trying to catch the Cranky cycle, or the Diddy cycle, or the Dixie cycle, one or the other. And I know internally, if I have clean movement, generally you're gonna get there right on cycle with the Kong you want. Sometimes you have to just slow down, it doesn't matter. You still want to get there by a certain time. So we're always going to be trying to catch those cycles throughout the run. It's a game very much about visual cues and catching cycles. Underwater, the only difference with the rotating barrel cycles, they're still global, but they're on 2 second cycles. So the window's bigger to get them, but that also means they're more punishing underwater if you were to miss them. So generally, if I miss like a Cranky cycle above water, I'm losing 3 seconds. If I miss like a Diddy cycle underwater, I'm losing like close to 6 seconds. And that can make a big difference in your run over the course of it, all these different cycles you're trying to capture. With that being said, I think that's all the basic mechanics I want to get out of the way. You got Donkey Kong playing his Nintendo 3DS right here. I am ready to jump into the base game from the beginning. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a game built on 6 worlds that you have to get through, defeating a boss at the end of each world, and anywhere between 4 and 8 levels in each world that you have to go through.